Welcome to Audacity Works, a podcast inspired by and dedicated to the working artist, the creative entrepreneur, and generally, doing the damn thing. This exists on the premise that the world belongs to those who have the audacity to believe that their lives have value. This is for you. Welcome to Audacity Works. I am your host, Rachel Strickland, and this is episode number 124. And it's about how to say no to your friends. This is by request, and it's kind of an extension of episode 116, which was a buffet episode, and I answered a question from a listener, which was, how do you defend the time that you've set aside for your creative tasks, or just time to be sitting around and thinking about creative stuff instead of, you want to go and say yes to the things that people ask you to do. So after that episode, I got another request from a listener who had already listened to that episode, and she said, podcast request, how to tell your friends no. Like kind, wonderful people in your life who want to collaborate or have you in a performance, but it simply does not align with your goals, or you know that you will not work well together. I love this question. I like adding another layer onto it, going one layer deeper, so let's do it. But first, I'm going to make you listen to some updates about me. So I'm feeling pretty moved to focus more of my efforts locally and creating whatever I can create here in the low country of South Carolina. To that end, there will be another Charleston Artist Salon coming up in April. And if you are local to the area and you want to be on the mailing list to learn about these local happenings, I'll put a link for that in the show notes. As well, I recently, as in yesterday, finished my application for the South Carolina Arts Directory. I am not even sure what that will mean if I get accepted. I think that it can expose me to more funding opportunities. But one of the things that it does have is the prestige of a juried process. So I can't just apply and get accepted because I applied. Like a team of people, or a panel, I suppose, has to look at all the stuff that I supplied and say, yes, we attest that you can do the thing that you're supposed to do. So it's just kind of like a stamp of approval. It also, comes with like a background check, which I expect to pass with flying colors because I've never done anything wrong. Which of course is not true, but I do not have a criminal record, so I expect to pass that pretty easily. But in addition to applying to a juried process, it's just good to apply to things. It forces you to put your work into words. I know everyone in Europe and Australia is listening to me talk. They're like, yeah, we've been doing that for years. It's the only way we get funding. I'm like, well, yes, I am here to definitely agree with you. Sorry, that is my heating coming on. I'm not going to turn it off because it's cold, which is some bullshit. It is nearly the Ides of March. This is some bullshit. I did not sign up for this. The azaleas have not even bloomed. They are 3 weeks late at this point. I'm mad. Anyway, I applied to the South Carolina Arts Directory. I very much hope that they accept me. I'll keep you posted. My next quest for my own creative endeavors is to find a new rehearsal space at a beautiful space that a friend allowed me to use. That space was quite a burden for her to run, and she's recently become free of that burden. So I'm going to make some snaps for her, and congratulations for her freedom. It also means that I need a new space to create in. So if you're local to the area and you know any leads that I could follow, I would be grateful for your help. I am practicing what I preach, which is to ask for what we need. And that is what I need now. It can be a theater when it's not in use. It can be a dance studio with mirrors. I'm not super picky. The floor just has to be smooth so I don't ruin the giant big bloody skirt, which would cost, many thousands of dollars to replace. So, searching for space in the Charleston area of South Carolina. Let me know if you have any leads. Would love to hear from you. Side note, Manflesh pointed out to me yesterday, he was like, your podcast voice is not the same as your regular voice. And I was like, what are you talking about? He was like, you just like have your podcast voice on. What do you mean? Oh, you talk a little bit more like this, like you're on the radio. I'm like, ew, I was not trying to do that, but I guess it's just gonna happen because I do hear myself like directly in my ears as I'm speaking. So yeah, I guess that's gonna happen. Anyway, just wanted to let you know I acknowledge this, and I'll try not to be too bedroomy. All right, let's get on to the question. Okay, the reason that I love this question from this listener, and I'm not going to name her because I don't know why. I think she might want to remain anonymous. So anonymous she will remain. But how to tell your friends no, okay? This is an advanced level boundaries question. We all know obvious things about boundaries, right? They are important. They are for us. They are our responsibility to defend. They're uncomfortable, especially if you've been socialized female, when you're designed to please everyone and be very convenient, until, of course, you get burnt out and miserable, and then you're a terror. And in so many instances, like, the solution ends up being better, healthier boundaries. Now, those are obvious things. That's like boundaries 101. We know that they're a good thing. We know it's our job to defend them. We know they're uncomfortable to defend, but that the rewards are exponential. Okay? Boundaries 101. This is like boundaries 102. When all that is obvious to you, you've processed it, you've put the boundaries in place, you have graduated to a new level, and now someone is coming to you with an opportunity that you don't want to take, and it's someone that you care about and you like and you're friends and you want to keep being friends with them, but you don't want to do this opportunity because maybe you just don't like their work. That's fine. You can still love someone and not like their work. Trust me, you can. And maybe not that you even dislike it, but it's just not interesting to you. It's not the direction that you want to go in. Or you think your personalities will not work well together in that kind of environment. These are all fair and valid reasons. They don't mean that you're not a good friend. Let me ask you a question. What age were you when you realized that, like, going on vacation with the person who's your best friend in daily life was a really shit idea? I know exactly how old I was. I was 24 years old. And I'm going to tell you this story because I think it's important. I think it can shed some light on this situationship. Use that. I don't know what that word's supposed to mean. Anyway. So I was 24 years old and I was backpacking around Europe like a rootless wanderer. Honestly, a dirty little street urchin. Very happily, I might add. I was over the moon to be doing this. And I was about 2 months in, and I met up with one of my best friends in the entire world. A woman whose company I had never tired of. I loved her, and I still love her so much. And we met up in Paris, and we took the train into Italy, and that's where I ran out of money. And anyway, we ended up staying there for like 2 or 3 months. And we lived together the entire time. And I was like, this is going to be awesome. I'm like traveling around, seeing the world. I've got one of my besties with me. But y'all, it was not good. It was not good. She was not happy. I liked being dirty and rootless and ruleless, and she did not. And all the things that I found like really freeing and charming about the experience, and they're like, I'm growing so much as a person. She was fucking miserable. And it was the first time that we had tension, like real tension in our friendship. And it was very hard. And that's when I realized, like, just because someone is like your favorite person in everyday life, that doesn't mean that you're going to do well during times of what I would call life plus. Life plus is like an intensive life situation. It includes traveling to an international location, and it also includes creating a show or any other kind of intensive creative endeavor where you have to be willing to make mistakes. You have to be willing to displease the other person. And if not, you have to be willing to sacrifice your friendship because you're going to end up resenting them so much because you couldn't stand up for what you thought was right. See, it is a minefield. So to enter into that life plus space with someone, you need to know that it's a good fit. So back to the question from our anonymous listener. You basically have two choices when confronted with a question like this: an invitation for an opportunity that you don't want to take for whatever reason. You have two choices, right? One is the option that 99.9% of people will take, which is to avoid the question, deflect the question, or lie about the reason that you're saying no, just to protect their feelings, protect yourself from an uncomfortable conflict. And that is the option that most people will take. They will avoid the person, avoid the question, deflect the question, or lie about the reasons that they are saying no, so that one, they don't have to do the opportunity because they know it's not a good fit, and they get to save themselves discomfort and possibly protect the other party's feelings, right? Almost everyone will take that option. There is a hidden option. It's actually not hidden at all. It's very, very obvious, but most people won't take it because the second option is to be honest with this person in your life about why you don't want to do it. Now, for most of my life, I have been the 99.9%. You're like, I definitely don't want to hurt someone's feelings, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to skirt around the issue, carry on with my life. But at this point in my life, I'm actually more intrigued by the possibility of what could be learned or uncovered taking option number 2. Right? So I'm not going to be like overly judgmental at the moment. Not that judgment's a bad thing, because it's not. But like option number 1 is definitely the easier option. And if you need to take that option, whatever. But I'm just like super intrigued by option number 2 right now. Like, but then shit really gets real. Like, you're bringing your actual authentic self to the table and being very vulnerable and saying like, I appreciate the offer, but if I'm honest, this concept just doesn't interest me, or I love you, or I really like you as a friend, but I have a lot of real reservations that we would work well together, so I think I'm gonna pass. Like, even just saying that right now, there's an electricity in it because it's true. And that is so much more interesting, isn't it? Like, you don't have to be cruel about it. Like, be your kind self, be your compassionate self. Or if you're a really blunt person, then be your blunt self. But I'm really curious, like, what if more of us were kind of brutally kindly, but brutally honest about what we did want and didn't want? Because if this friend really wants to work with you, or really wants you involved in this project, like, they're going to find another way to ask you, and you're going to be in the same situation all over again because you weren't really honest about why you didn't want to take the opportunity in the first place. And look, I have been conflict avoidant for most of my life. I don't think I am anymore. Mostly because I find it like more exciting. I'm like, ooh, we're about to get real. We're going to get down to the nitty gritty. Now that sounds more interesting to me. But essentially, like, this is the advanced version of Boundaries 101, because it's still the same thing, right? It's still you being able to prioritize yourself and your own goals as valid and your own interests as valid. Like, what are the two okay, the worst thing that could happen is that you say yes to it and do something you don't want to do. And now you've poured all this energy, resources, and time into something that you didn't want to do in the first place just because you didn't want to have a difficult conversation. Well, that is not good enough for you. And it's not good enough for your friend. Like, have you ever like gone to coffee or something with someone and you could tell they didn't want to be there and you were like, why did you agree to meet with me? Because you seem to be looking at your watch a lot. Like, that doesn't feel good. We all deserve to have coffee with people that actually want to be having coffee with us. So my totally biased advice is to do the brave and terrifying thing and be truly honest about the reasons that this opportunity does not excite you, and say no to those friends that you love. Let's circle back for a second to my bestie in Italy. And we were having such a tough time. And because we'd never experienced like real tension in our friendship before, we mostly like ignored it for a while until we couldn't ignore it anymore. And we had like tearful conversations, and we drank some wine, and then we'd have more tearful conversations. This is over many nights, by the way. It wasn't just one evening. And in the end, we found a way to coexist that was like quite beautiful and allowed me to have my experience and allowed her to have her experience. And at the end of those, it was 3 months. At the end of those 3 months, she left about a week early, and I dropped her off at the airport. And we were both like weeping because we knew that this was such an important time that we had together. Not just like an important time in your own life, but an important time in our friendship. And because we were brave enough to confront the tension that was there, we not only had many, many excellent stories that we got to have for the rest of our lives, but we had a much deeper understanding and appreciation for each other. We were able to go to that next level. And I'm so glad that we had those fights in Italy. I'm so glad that we had that tension. And I'm mostly glad we were able to be honest with each other. And I could say, why are you crying again? This is like the best thing ever. And she's like, why do you think this is the best thing ever? My feet are dirty. My legs hurt. I'm hungry. You walk too fast. And I'm like, you walk too slow. And man, we really learned a lot about each other. And I'm so glad that we had that time. It's really special. Uncomfortable, but so worth it. I'm guessing that no one has died of shock that was my take on how to say no to your friends. Like, be kind, but like truly, what would happen if we were just really honest with the people closest in our lives instead of like trying to decide what we were going to allow them to experience and try to protect them from a natural consequence of our own truth? And what if we just let them have the truth and let them have their own autonomous human experience of being told no by someone that they didn't want to be told no from? In the end, it's really an act of kindness to say no when something's out of alignment for you, especially if it is someone that you love. Now, I've got some homework, your mission, should you choose to accept it. Some extra homework, which is to just ask for some things. And I hope that you get told no. Like, ask for things that you want, even just casually. Like, ask your friend for, like, I don't know, a foot massage, or will you buy me this cup of coffee, or will you go pick up my dog from doggy daycare because I kind of don't want to get out of the couch. Just to see, just to see how we experience being told no. Because I honestly think we would all be having a lot better time if no weren't such a loaded word. Because I tell you, as a working artist, you are going to be told no a lot. Like, if you're not getting rejected, you're not pushing hard enough. So that's what I think about that. Thank you so much, anonymous friend, for writing in with that question, because I really enjoyed having a think about it and talking about it. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for listening to me, and thank you for tuning in every week. I so appreciate it. And if this has been helpful for you, the biggest compliment that you could give me would be to share it with someone that you think it could help. And thank you to those of you who have reviewed the podcast. It means a lot to me. I appreciate it. If you have requests for future episodes, you can reach me always on Instagram at Rachel Strickland Creative or on Patreon at Rachel Strickland Creative. This podcast is powered by Patreon, so extra special thank you to my amazing patrons for believing in me and for standing with me and helping me to create this as well as so many other things. Thank you for making this possible. And on that note, it is Tuesday. Well, by the time you're hearing this, it's Wednesday. But I have my first group class with Cycle 28 of the Audacity Project, so I'm going to go prepare for that now. And I am so excited to see all of their faces. So until next time, my friends, go tell the truth and shame the devil. Don't go back to sleep.